Hi guys, Liz Truss was at CPAC in the US, a Republican Action Committee where she was a guest speaker. Now I struggle to understand why people like her are invited, considering that many of those attending wouldn't be able to find Britain on a map. She was no doubt there to make some money for herself, which begs the question, what do her constituents in southwest Norfolk think about her spending so much time away, and are they happy about it? Anyway, she was telling Republicans exactly what they wanted to hear, that their way of life is under threat by woke, and that the left never really accepted that they lost the last general election. What, I hear you say? That was my response too.
Now, in Britain, we are one of the few countries that still have a Conservative government. But the left did not accept that they'd lost at the ballot box.
What the hell are you talking about? I know some people have said that Boris Johnson was not my Prime Minister, but they didn't literally mean that Boris Johnson didn't become Prime Minister or that the Conservatives didn't win the last general election. What the hell is she talking about? Is she trying to tap into some weird Republican talking points?
Instead, they've been weaponising our court system to stop us deporting illegal immigrants.
How? Okay, if there's anyone weaponising anything, it's the Conservatives, weaponising the issue of immigration. It's not... Who is weaponising the court system? Who are you talking about? Isn't it interesting that she doesn't actually refer to any particular group? She's talking just the left. She doesn't say... she doesn't name any names. She doesn't name any political parties. Because she can't name a political party like the Labour Party because they're not in power. You have been in power for the last 14 years.
They've been using the administrative state to make sure that Conservative policies are thwarted.
No. What you're talking about here is reality. So we've seen it with Boris Johnson, Liz Truss herself, and Rishi Sunak to a certain extent. What you try to do is you try to push through a policy, and then the civil service say, well, actually, we can't do this because it's illegal, or we can't do it because we don't have the resources, or because it doesn't make sense. So when you push a policy and it's acting outside reality, and reality says no, that's not the left, that's reality.
And they've been pushing their woke agenda through our schools, through our campuses, and even in our corporations.
Once again, the corporation. It's the corporations that are woke.
Now, I thought that companies in the free market were meant to be about giving people jobs, giving people opportunities, making money, making profits, creating wealth for our country. But no, we've got a new kind of economics now in the West. It's called wokenomics.
Can you name any of these wokenomics companies? Any of these companies that are not creating jobs, not creating wealth, not creating profits? Just invent stuff. Don't actually think about it. Probably because the people watching this who are listening to her going, who is this person again? They don't know what they actually think in their minds. Yeah, there are companies that are just interested in woke, not interested in actually a profit. I've covered this before.
It's actually about DEI and ESG and all those other three-letter acronyms that mean less opportunities for people and less future for our nation.
What the hell does that mean? Less future for our nation. Companies are deciding we're not going to give more opportunities. Companies don't care about opportunities, they care about profit. Okay? But less future for our nation. So there's no future? Time is going to stop here? Once again, it sounds absurd, the question I'm putting to her, but her position is absurd.
That's what we are facing now, even in countries with Conservative governments, because of the power of the left and the power of those bureaucracies. And
what power? What left?
The left are aided and abetted by our enemies overseas.
And here's the ironic part. You're speaking at a Republican Action Committee, which is headed by a president, a former president, who called on recently for Putin to attack allies, to attack NATO members. And you're trying to say that the left are the problem?
Now that includes Russia, it includes Iran, And most of all, it includes China.
See, with the other two, she can say, yeah, China is bad, Iran is bad, but she's on sort of thin ice complaining about Russia at the Republican, at a Republican gathering, because the Republicans now are huge fans of Putin, huge fans of Russia, because it's against Joe Biden. So and some of the things that Putin has been putting out, this sort of anti-woke stuff, they love that too. So they're happy. They would love to see Putin in charge of the United States. If the choice was between Joe Biden and Putin, they would choose Putin on every occasion.
Which stands behind all of them. And what those people want to see is they don't want to just compete with countries in the West. They don't want economic competition. They want to undermine our very way of life.
The irony of this, like the United States, since the Second World War, is not only interested in economic control of many countries around the world, but also political control. So it's a bit ironic, complaining. I'm not saying that it would be great for China to be in charge of all these things, but you can't stand there and say, wouldn't it be terrible if China was influencing other countries around the world politically?
They want to undermine our societies. And what they want to do is they want our societies to collapse from within because we loathe ourselves, because we hate ourselves. That's what they are.
This is Brexiteers talking. Brexiteers about, my God, we wouldn't want our society to collapse from within. Let's vote to impose economic sanctions upon ourselves.
Trying to achieve. And what's happened is these regimes have actually been enabled by us over the past few decades. We let China into the World Trade Organization, and we've allowed them to undermine free markets with their unfair practices.
Now, there are many issues here with when it comes to trade and what's happening with China. But when China was a sort of outlet for, not an outlet, but a factory for Europe, for the United States, they were happy to use China as a factory. Okay, what we do is we design our products in the West, and then we manufacture it in China at low cost. Now China has caught up, and China has said, well, we can actually do the design, we can actually do the first part ourselves, so we don't need the West.
We've almost allowed Iran to develop a nuclear weapon. And we've enabled Vladimir Putin by not taking action early enough when he could be stopped.
You shouldn't be talking about Putin here. They're a huge fan of him.
That is what has been going on. Instead of projecting strength, and we know that dictators only respond to strength, we projected weakness. And that is what is being projected from the White House at the moment.
Now, she's boring, okay? Look, I'm not a public speaker. I wouldn't attempt to be a public speaker, but my God, that was boring. And we actually follow these things. Can you imagine if you're just a regular Republican who's not all that interested in politics, but you like Trump, and then you're listening to this? You don't even know where Britain is. You don't know what's happening in Britain. And you're being told this is what we need to do. I don't know how well it went down. I don't know if people will actually remember her. If they do a bit of research, they'll realize what a failure she is. And maybe they'll be asking, why are we inviting these people? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.